All right, we're recording.
Yeah, all set. 6 p.m. Call this village board meeting to order. If you'd all join me in a moment of silence. The Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you take the roll?
Brett Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Sharrow.
Present.
Trustee Detmers.
Here.
We got the village mayor.
I'm here.
Okay. Matt Mao.
Here.
And Trustee Churchill.
Present.
Thank you.
Trustee Mann is absent. Public announcements this evening? Hearing none, I'll add one here, and if we would all, because he likes the spotlight, congratulate Trustee Detmers on his Distinguished Chamber Award at the Chatham Area Public Library District's Call to Entry Art Show. So if you didn't know Dewey had an artistic talent, join the rest of us who didn't know that. Award-winning artist here, so go see his work at the library. How long is all that up?
Beginning of May.
Oh, all the way to May.
Was that acrylics? What did you use? What medium?
Acrylic.
Was it a boat?
Sailboat.
Where do the skills end?
It's just
And I do have something too, if you're done. Are you done? Since Les isn't here tonight, I'll make the announcement for him, as he's always said. This Friday starts the Legion Fish Fries, 5 to 7:30 at the Legion Hall through Lent. The Friday before Easter is when those end, so hopefully people will come out and eat fish, and they can come pick it up and take it home too if they want. But hopefully they'll come in and buy some 50/50 tickets at the fish fry as well. So the 50/50 is so there's a 50/50 every night, and then whatever's in the pot at the end of the night, we'll draw a name, and if we draw Darlene Judd, you win the half of whatever's in the pot. So
I think, yeah.
the rest goes to the Legion. Yeah. Oh, okay. The rest goes to the Legion. Yeah.
all right. No public comments? All right. Entertain a motion, put the consent agenda on the table.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Miles made a motion. Over a second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo. Questions or discussion regarding the minutes or the warrants? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
And Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Old business, item 1, an ordinance adopting the Village Customer Service Policy Handbook revised in February, actually. I have a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion. Of a second.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Mao. Any further discussion regarding this? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Okay. Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution accepting the lowest responsible bid for a 2500 HD crew cab pickup truck. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Detmers made a motion. Of a second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo. Further discussion?
I have one question. What department will this truck go to, Pat?
The electric department.
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
New business, item 1 is an ordinance approving execution of amendment number 1 to the intergovernmental agreement with the villages of Chatham and New Berlin, Illinois, providing for issuance of alternate bonds by the South Sangamon Water Commission. A motion to bring this to the table.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Chardo, second.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Detmers. As discussed at the last meeting, the South Sangamon Water Commission is looking for the opportunity to refinance. And Madam Clerk, would you please let the record show that Trustee man has arrived. He's made it. We're on new business item 1. Anyway, the South Sang Water Commission is looking at opportunity to refinance their bonds to secure lower interest rates, more favorable repayment terms. Do we have any further discussion?
Has there been any further updates to the rates or the estimated savings since our meeting?
They don't have, there's no magic to it. The actual interest rate's not going to be set until the day they actually go out and sell. They're looking to accomplish this within the next 2 weeks. I think is their time frame to get those out, so they'll have the final numbers then. If you watch the stock market, exodus from the stock market, which usually tends toward favorable interest rates.
I would also, if we approve this, I'd also ask that, since this would be considerable savings and it would set them up for, better suited in the future, a capital improvement plan for what's going forward. I would like, since that will change and should put them in a better future, I'd like to see what that is.
That can be requested. Anything else?
The only issue I really have with, this is the first time it's really been put on the board to talk about and be transparent about. We really haven't had that much discussion. We had discussion as trustees when we came in and asked questions, but I've had other questions that come up since, and it'd be better if, in the future, if they would get us things sooner. I know this, Pat got it to us as soon as we did, but it's hard to, we're talking about spending another 41 million, or, there's a lot of money to consider and all of this stuff. But I agree, the savings is something we can't, because of the ramp that was built into the original, which kind of ties our hands.
Yeah, I would also agree with that as a standard. I don't like to vote on something that's the first time on the agenda.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I have something. I'll throw it out there. So to me, this kind of benefits everybody, or I hope it ends up benefiting everybody. But by us voting and approving this, I think it's kind of been said already up here already tonight, but I hope we can increase not only, the time that we get stuff on our agenda, but just responsiveness in general increased. Because it's like we talk to a brick wall and then they say, oh, hey, by the way, will you approve this extension of $41 million in bonds, refinance these bonds? We don't respond to you, but will you vote for these? So, it's kind of like.
Well, in the discussions that we had in those meetings I would have felt better if they would have happened in front of everybody. Just so people do know that it's a good deal. Because if I look at it, just the layman looking out there, what happened to all the interest we paid for the previous 10 years? And, now is the plant worth, it was 50 million, now is it 50 some million? Those questions could have been answered. We could have had those discussions out here, would have been better in the future. But I know we're on a timeline and this bond market is volatile.
Well, I know that yields are a record low today, which is good for us in this situation, in this vote. So, the timing is, I know they've been working on it a while, and it's good timing as this goes, and hopefully that stays when they go to the market. But it's also important for our constituents to know, because they may not all know, that they won't necessarily see a reduction in the rate, but this does set up the plant to not have that ramp up in a few years, and I do appreciate the proactiveness that is occurring for future. I have other concerns and a lot of concerns, but I don't think we have the time to be able to really review those and study those, unfortunately, but it does take advantage of the timing in the market to prevent even higher rate increases in the future.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Okay. Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Trustee
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Dittmers?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution reaffirming and recommitting the requirement holders of liquor license that allow gaming to have sales of food, non-alcoholic beverages, and alcoholic beverages that exceed 25% of net terminal income for the prior 12-month period. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mann, second by trustee Chow. Do we have any discussion regarding this resolution?
I do. Firstly, I know that our existing ordinance measures this against the net terminal income. Is that standard? That it's an interesting measurement to me that it's 25%, no greater than 25% of their net terminal income has to be from food, drink. Why is it that and not revenue in general?
This is actually unique to us. And when this was proposed, it was at a time where a restaurant was being proposed that wanted to have gaming in it. And there was so much concern that it was going to propose one thing and then do something else. So there's not a lot of towns that do anything like this, period. They either allow it or don't allow it. There's other ways to control it through zoning. You can have a tremendous amount of discussion on what you want to do with it. Municipalities only, correct me when I say something wrong here, only real authority with regulating gaming is you either allow it or you don't allow it. But we can control the liquor license process, and because we have liquor licenses that allow the sale of liquor at establishments with gaming, that's where this came from.
I just, I went through the January numbers and calculated what each owner of a license in Chatham would have to have sold in order to satisfy this requirement. And I just think it's interesting that essentially the margin that's made off of a machine dictates how much food sales they have to have had in that period.
But the focus,
Not the total transactions or the total revenue put through the machine, but how much the margin was. And that would fluctuate depending on however many aces you got or whatever. It's an interesting measurement to me.
yeah, fully up to if you guys want to move this on and have a different discussion down in committee about a different way to approach this.
I've looked through these numbers, and like I said, the numbers are interesting when looking at January. So a few other questions. When I was reading the ordinance, and I went back to the existing ordinance as well, it sounds to me, and I just looked for clarification, that when you originally go and request for this license, you're supposed to forecast your next 12 months of revenue for.
Essentially, what we had done with everybody that has come in, pointed them to this and say, here's going to be what you need to cover. And several places have just looked at it and said, it's not our model, we can't do that. And so they've never even opened up here.
Isn't this a way just to keep people from turning into a casino? Like basically they can sell, go to county market and buy, chips and dip and say that they're selling.
That was the intent, and that's what was trying to be avoided.
Right, so just clarification on that. So when you first go and submit your application, you project your next 12 months of revenues. And then when you come in the next year to have your license renewed, you go back and prove what your sales are supposed to have been.
That's what you have to do if you want to fully enforce this.
Right. And so I guess the timing of those studies is dependent upon when the applicant applied, rather than just saying it's the calendar year of 2020, which it makes more sense to me that A, we do it more frequently, and B, we do it all on the same schedule, so that those folks that have to administer the
Renewals
authorization.
all come at the same time, right?
Yeah, we do them twice a year.
You do what twice a year?
Renewals on liquor.
July 1st and January 1st.
Okay, so that's good, at least. So, I don't know, guys, it sounds to me, based on the ordinance, that we would check this once a year, but you're saying we're going to check it twice a year?
You can check it at any point.
We're not checking it at all right now, though,
No,
correct?
we're not.
Right, but this ordinance today is to reaffirm our position and to make sure that we're on the right track. So is that the track that we want
I
to
had
go
the
on?
feeling 2 weeks ago that that's where the board, they wanted us to start doing that. So if you have, at least from history, if you've had something on the books and you weren't following the rules, usually if the board comes back and reaffirms something, that puts people on alert that we're going to start checking for this. I'm not pushing that this happens. I'm just saying that if you want us to start checking on it,
This will do.
this would be the,
This would do it.
So I'm curious, how many by this ordinance are actually following or meeting the ordinance as it stands now?
well, I can't say because we haven't asked them for their numbers.
Shouldn't they provide them? I mean, you shouldn't have to ask, the ordinance says,
But I guess, well,
but they probably don't because we haven't asked.
you don't.
I'm gonna guess
put
2
it
or
on
3.
Application, you don't.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
2 or
I-
3. I'm gonna guess almost every one of them,
Satisfied.
So,
just based on the formula.
Yeah, again, the formula, in my opinion, is light, but I just took a stab at, what were their January net incomes for the terminals? And then what would 25% of that be? So for instance, the business that had the highest net terminal income was Godfather's, and their NTI was 66.5K. So that meant that $16,600 of revenue would have had to have been made in January. So is it possible that Godfather's had $16,000 of revenue? Probably.
Yeah. I hope so.
And then AJ's was number 2. Elsa's is number 3, needing to have the most amount of revenue to fulfill this ordinance. So again, I don't frequent all of these places, but there are a few that I would guess may struggle. But so again, I guess my point is 2 times a year the frequency that we want to study this.
I don't think you want to be looking at it.
Or is it one?
why would you not want to do it quarterly?
I was thinking quarterly, but I don't know
Well,
what.
again, remember it's a liquor license provision.
So if you don't sell
points-
liquor,
Right, the points where we're looking at liquor license are those 2 points a year. That's it.
do all of those on that, does everybody that has gaming in the town have liquor licenses? Okay,
Have to.
We can't get it.
all right.
Can't get
You
the-
can't get it without
Gaming
it.
without liquor, yeah.
Got it.
But you said they renew their licenses twice a year?
Yes.
So there's one of them, it's just like submitting paperwork again, and the other one would ask for the numbers?
We could do that.
Or would you just,
Sorry, are you suggesting?
no, I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just trying, the
So you
current
guys,
landscape.
what we need from you guys is decide on, do you want to enforce this policy hard? If so, take your vote, or if you want to talk about a different way to address it, move in that direction. Based on whatever you decide, we'll come back and
Well, just to
show
make it
you how
clear-
ways to administer it.
We would not be sending out renewals until June, for the people could renew their license till July the 1st, okay?
Well,
So we do have time to look at this if you want to.
we at least need to enforce it some way.
Yeah, and I,
Needs to be enforced as well.
and I would say, I mean, if we're sending out twice a year, it makes sense that you would be asking for the numbers twice a year and have that consistent. That's where I was going,
So
just to
for,
be consistent.
Plenty of ways to do it. You don't have to figure out the technicalities of it. You just got to decide, do you want to
Yeah.
vote for this tonight or not?
And then if somebody's in violation, they lose their liquor license?
Don't get renewed. That's
The ramification? Okay.
that's where you'll end with this. You won't.
So again, guys, when I'm researching this ordinance, what we're saying is the margin, basically, so a guy puts $100 in, he takes $80 out. The margin of that is $20. The state gets 85% of a tax, the village gets 15% of a tax, and the gaming license holder takes the rest. Is it that margin, the $20 in my made-up example, that we want to measure it against? Or is it the $100 revenue or some other metric?
Yeah, the reason that was picked, I remember because I helped come up with this. The reason that is picked ties to the reason that bars and restaurants and establishments were permitted the ability to put in gaming machines in the first place on the statewide level. It was a replacement for lost revenue. So when you talk about revenue that they're trying to replace, it made sense to measure at the business level rather than the pure, top line revenue, because that's what they're trying to replace when they put the smoking ban in effect.
And it offers the prevention of a situation where you have just a
gaming
a
parlor.
gaming parlor.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that we've, well, I've
No, I
heard of.
definitely
We don't
understand the
want
reason.
that, so.
So I definitely understand the reason why we have the ordinance. I'm just asking if we think that's the proper measurement.
So tonight, the question tonight is, do you want this resolution? If you want to look at,
We want to reaffirm what's on the books.
yeah, if you want to, in the future, propose a different way to do it,
Doesn't mean we can't
propose it
change
through
it
the
down the
committee.
road.
You can change it at some point in time. That would be the route tonight. Whether it's the right metric, the metric you want, or whatever, this is the one on the books. It's just reaffirming what's on the books. That's the question in front of you tonight. So, any other discussion to that?
And I'll say one thing, I misspoke when I read this, I thought it just had mentioned the food part, and not the alcohol and non-alcohol, so that's why I had made the comment, one or two places out of everybody, because it's like, not everybody sells, so.
So again, we're talking tonight just one time a year. Because that's how I read the ordinance.
Tonight you're talking, well, it's a 12-month look back is what's in the ordinance. Look back at whatever period you choose, but it's a 12-month look.
Some months you could make it and some months you couldn't, so you probably would want that 12-month average.
I understand that.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to a business that, oh, we had a down month that month or 2 months, and that happened to be in one of the halves or quarters that we did, and I just lost my license, and so.
There's also more pizzas.
Well, there is another component of it, and nobody's mentioned that tonight, but that does fill up some rental spots that we have in town. So we do have landlords that are happy that they do have contracts with paying customers in those rental spots, as well as they do pay for utilities and pay their bills on time. So take those into consideration too, okay?
All right, Madam Clerk,
You want to go ahead and take?
take a vote, please.
Okay. Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Gerger, trustee Gerger,
Yes?
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao,
Yes.
trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 3 is an ordinance authorizing disposal of certain items of village property. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Miles made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Churchill. Chief Foley has provided a list of some surplus equipment from his department that he'd like to dispose of. You found a municipality that would like to buy it from you, so this is the permission that's being requested here. The board, by a simple majority, has to declare that this is surplus to allow him to do that. So, do you have any questions or conversation?
I appreciate the email. Thank you, Chief.
Madam Clerk, would you take a vote?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee Gerger,
Yes.
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution approving and authorizing the village to enter a compliance commitment agreement with the Illinois EPA. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, this was related to, earth movement work that the village did and got out of order. Did the work correctly, got all the plantings in, just got the permit too late. So this is an agreement with the Illinois EPA that we aren't going to do that.
What site is that?
That's the West Park, the movement of the earth done right, absent the permit. They got the permit later. EPA's reviewed the site, signed off on it that all the vegetation grew back and the grading is still correct and everything's right.
Yeah.
It's just out of order. So this says we won't do that. Further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee Gerger,
Yes.
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao,
Yes.
trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution accepting a performance audit final report from the Matrix Consulting Group. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Churchill has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Charles seconded. This finalizes the report that was presented to the committee of the whole. Any further discussion? Hearing
So
none?
that they added the timelines on there.
Good.
Yep.
Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee Gerger,
Yes.
trustee Charles,
Yes.
trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Mao,
Yes.
trustee Churchill.
Yes.
And item 6 is an ordinance accepting the final plat of Peggy Ostermeyer minor subdivision. Can I have a motion to bring this to the table?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mao has made a motion. For a second.
Second.
Second by trustee Churchill. This land is actually outside the village.
Outside the village.
Outside the
limits.
village limits, but inside the 1.5 mile radius that requires our planning commission to look at it, and the village board approved, so they have a large farm lot that they have parceled off
It's
this.
51 acres, and they wanted to split off a 1 acre parcel where their house is at so that they could sell the house but still keep the farmland. So they had to go through the subdivision process. Planning Commission met Thursday night. They had no problems with it. Everything's in line. There's a copy of it there on the table. So
What was the vote?
it was unanimous, 5-0.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Charo?
Yes.
Trustee Detmers?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchell?
Yes.
And can I have a motion to remove item 7 from the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No need for that. Utility Oversight Subcommittee will meet at 6 PM on February 10th. Village Board,
Public comments on village?
I'll get there. Village Board will meet at 6 PM February 11th. Committee of the Whole will meet at 6:15 or thereafter on February 11th.
Do what? February, March?
I've got the wrong schedule. Thanks. My wife has been sick for a week, which means nobody's slept.
Yeah, don't blame your wife, Dave.
No, Public Properties meet, I'm just blaming the lack of sleep. Public Properties and Recreation, March 9th at 6 PM. Village Board, March
Nice
10th
recovery.
at 6 PM. Committee of the Whole follows at 6:15 or thereafter. Planning Commission scheduled 6 PM, March 19th, and Village Board, again, 6 PM on March 31st, which is 1 week off our normal schedule. Now, were there any public comments on village business? No one had signed in. Is there any additional public comment to say? Hearing none, we have no need for a closed session. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion. Have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Mao. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned.
We didn't even need the light tonight. We were just so bright.